Well, Zac Goldsmith, the Tory MP who's long campaigned against Heathrow expansion, is here. That may be the truth. We won't know what the final decision is for some time, Zac. But if what we're hearing is true about Tuesday, there could be several options on the table, and most of these roads are leading now towards Heathrow expansion. Yeah, that was certainly the case a few days ago. I mean, the thing is, this review that we've just heard about was always supposed to be an independent arm's-length review. And it seems very clear now that it's nothing of the sort. It looks very much like George Osborne in particular has been knocking it about in the last few days, so that what finally emerges on Tuesday will not just be about Heathrow expansion. We'll have a few other synthetic options thrown in as well, just to enable the government to maintain that ambiguity, cynically, I believe, until after the election. Why do you say that? Why do you think that there are fingerprints?
We'll have to wait and see on Tuesday, but very compelling sources are saying that there has been massive activity in the last few days, and that the three options that you've just identified, which are absolutely in the report, will be supplemented by a few extra sources, non-Heathrow based options as well. And the idea of that is not, this is not genuinely to expand the choices. This is about enabling, I think, all three party leaders to defer any kind of decision making till after the election, because none of them, frankly, have the courage to front up to voters before the election when it really matters.
It could just be that the case is now overwhelming, that Heathrow expansion is looking commercially like the most sensible thing to do, and that your argument is bluntly discredited.
Well, I mean, there are a growing number of voices, I would say majority voices, both from within business, and I'm not just talking about people like myself who could be described as NIMBYs. I represent an area that would be affected, who are saying that the answer is not to double the size of Heathrow. There are congestion issues which no one has even begun to look at. 50 million extra road passenger journeys every single year, backwards and forwards from Heathrow. It's impossible to imagine that actually working out. There are other people saying it cannot make sense to create what is effectively a foreign-owned monopoly on one edge of a very large city. Doubling Heathrow would create what is effectively a monopoly, when we're seeing that competition has liberated Gatwick. It's become a good airport. It's doing things we were told it couldn't do. Stansted is an improving airport. Why not have a multi-hub approach, a genuinely competitive approach, which always delivers the best results for customers? You get lower prices, more choice every time.
Do you think we just simply won't know this until after the general election? Do you think there will be a move on Heathrow at all?
I think because of what we know was in the original first draft of this report, so irrespective of what is produced on Tuesday, we know that if the parties accept this report, in general, they're accepting Heathrow expansion, and I think they need to come clean about that.
And what will you do if that is the case?
I've always said to my constituents that if the government changes its position, which it hasn't yet, but if it changes its position on Heathrow expansion, I would trigger a by-election. If it happens in the manifesto of the next election, then I certainly wouldn't stand as a Conservative, because this is a massive issue for people in my patch. And I have to say that...
But you've always talked about the need for there to be this positive tension between backbenchers and the government. I mean, why don't you stay around to enact that now?
David Cameron himself has to really think very carefully about this. I mean, politically, a U-turn on this issue would be catastrophic for him. You have to remember that it wasn't just a few party speeches. David Cameron went to every single constituency affected. He stood up and said, no ifs, no buts, there will be no Heathrow expansion. This wasn't a throwaway line at the end of a speech. He went to places like Richmond to deliver that one line. And on the back of it, people voted for him. They thought, you know what, we'll give him a chance. So if he does a U-turn on this issue, it will be an off-the-scale betrayal, and he will never be forgiven in West London. People outside of West London who perhaps don't care that much about Heathrow will also take note, and they'll wonder how many of the other promises we hear between now and the next election can be trusted. How much can the Prime Minister himself be trusted if he's willing to break a promise that was so crystal clear? So I think it's a big deal for David Cameron. He's going to have to think about this.
And this is very close to your heart. I mean, when you became an MP, the Green Dream was all the rage for the Tories. I'm wondering if you feel slightly used.
I think there are a lot of things that are said before elections by all parties which turn out to be synthetic. It's one of the reasons people don't like politicians. It's one of the reasons people don't attach a lot of significance and importance to manifesto promises, because they're broken so easily. I do think in certain respects the things that were promised in our manifesto in relation to energy, for example, we are more or less delivering. I think the language that's been used by the Prime Minister reportedly and other people at the top of the government has been very loose and has done some harm in terms of investor confidence, in terms of signalling a potential change of policy.
What about the green side of energy? I mean,
but broadly speaking,
any of the green issues, do you feel that he's...
I'm not sure. If you want to criticise the government in terms of its green energy issues, which is what you're talking about, you don't look at the policies. In terms of policy, we are doing what we said we do, and we are, and it stands up to scrutiny. We're not doing enough. Some of our policies haven't worked as well as they should have done. Green Deal could be boosted, in my view. There are all kinds of things that can be improved, but we're doing what we said we do. The problem is the language, and when you have loose talk between the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition, and you hear reports in the Sun of words I'm not allowed to use on this programme in relation to green policies, I think that the effect of that is that the investors out there are beginning to panic. And if it's the case that we need £120 billion of investment just to get our energy infrastructure up to scratch, you're not going to achieve that by creating the kind of uncertainty that you create when you use the loose language we've heard. So I think the problem is a lot of it's politics rather than policy, and I hope the Prime Minister's taken that on board.
Zac Goldsmith, thank you.
Thank you.